Hi world, it's about 5 p.m. UK time on Wednesday the 1st of September 2021, and this is my forecast for the month ahead of September 2021. So let's look at the background first of all. The big thing that is still going on is the Saturn-Uranus square. And we've seen so many unpredictable developments in 2021. And with Saturn square Uranus, I keep coming back to this theme of the unstoppable force against the immovable object. Uranus brings change. Change can be disruptive, chaotic, dramatic, sudden, unpredictable, and pull the rug from underneath your feet. It can bring chaos and disorder. Change can also be stimulating, innovative, original, exciting, fun, and adventurous, with words like independence, freedom, and liberty. But Uranus is in Taurus. It's been there now for 2.5 years. It's got another 4 or 5 years to run. And that's not the best position for Uranus by a long way. Because Taurus by its nature is resilient and determined, thorough and perseverant, and sometimes downright stubborn. And it's not that flexible, especially when it comes to change. Yet Uranus is all about change. So when Uranus does make change happen in Taurus, it's always going to be quite sudden and jarring. Saturn, of course, brings, when young, by which I mean under 40, 43, sorry folks. Saturn, when young, brings restrictions and limitations and frustrations and blockages and circumstances outside of your control, holding you back, and clashes with authority. Whether that's parents or teacher or God or employer or the state, doesn't matter. When older, of course, the majority of people, once they've learned to work with Saturn, they experience it as words like structure, self-discipline, hard work, and living within one's own boundaries as opposed to those pushed on them by others. And actually Saturn is a really good energy as you age, because it brings the self-discipline, the resilience, the determination to make a success of oneself. In Aquarius, the sign of the future, the sign of hopes and dreams and wishes for the future, the sign of community, Saturn, the planet of discipline and structure, isn't that comfortable. It says, yes, all right, begrudgingly, we will move into the future, but it's got to be 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. And we've got to put down roots and foundations every single step of the way before we take the next step forward. So Saturn, the old father time, is in the sort of hopes and future sign, which is a bit of a paradox. And Uranus, the change bringer, which rules Aquarius, of course, is in Taurus, which again is not that flexible or adaptable. And they're square to each other. And this square has been going on since February of this year. It is still going on. It is not yet at its strongest. Its strongest is in the next 6 to 8 weeks. It will linger into next year. When we look at this in connection with the big conjunction of the early part of 2020, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto conjunct in mid-late Capricorn, which in many ways was the precursor and the initiator of COVID, then it seems to me that COVID is going to continue through into next year before slowly, steadily, gradually dissipating and becoming part of the normal human experience. Meantime, in September 2021, Saturn square Uranus is still getting stronger. We've just seen the military pullout from Afghanistan. And there's lots of comments on that. And I'm not really going to get into that, except to say that the intelligence really let down the British and American forces. They were saying that Kabul wouldn't fall till next year, and it happened really fast. Now, I have a problem with any government or religion that imposes doctrine by force, especially those that discriminate according to gender, let alone religion. but the whole thing's a debacle. Over September, Saturn square Uranus is ongoing. There will be further developments, and especially as we get towards the end of September. Pluto is continuing to go retrograde through Capricorn, although in early October it will stand still and start moving forward. Neptune is going retrograde in Pisces. Uranus is going retrograde in Taurus. Saturn is going retrograde in Aquarius. Jupiter is retrograde in Aquarius. All the big boys are retrograde. Chiron, for what it's worth, is retrograde in Aries. All of the big outer planets are retrograde. When you've got a lot of retrogrades going on, the lesson here is of reassessment, reevaluation, reconsideration. What did we do when they were all moving forward? Okay, we did that. So now let's reassess. Did we do it right? Did we take the right actions? Did we have the right opinions? If so, great. Let's establish and consolidate those things we did and then improve on them when those planets move forward again. And did we get it right? No. In that case, let's learn the lessons and make plans to do it better next time. Now, Pluto's going to stand still and start moving forward in the first week of October. Saturn will start moving forward in the second week of October. Jupiter will start moving forward in the third week of October. So a lot of the retrogrades are going to come to an end in early October. But here in September, we're still in this period of reassessment and reevaluation. And I suggest that another way of looking at this is in the early part of this year, in the first 6 months before everything went retrograde, it was a time of dream and vision and idea, and this can happen and that can happen. And then when the retrogrades kick in, it's time for reassessment and reevaluation. And then as the retrogrades begin to come to an end, where we are now, it's the beginning of a process where the dreams, visions and ideas start changing into blueprints, schedule and plans for the future. But the actions that initiate them, that hasn't started yet. And that's not really going to kick in properly until the end of the year. Meantime, there's quite a few changes going on. First and foremost, we've got a Mercury retrograde. Mercury's going to be retrograde between 10 and 25 degrees of Libra. This is going to affect people born between the 3rd to the 18th of July and January. Actually more like the 1st to the 16th of January, the 3rd to the 18th of October, and the 2nd to the 17th of April. All of these people will be influenced and affected by the Mercury retrograde. The Mercury retrograde is also going to be squaring Pluto in the sky when it stands still around the end of this month. When Mercury stands still, it's going to be squaring Pluto for about 10 days at the end of September. Therefore, I do expect the last 10 days of this month to be quite an inflexible time with a lot of damaging words being said. This is both in personal lives and relationships and in the larger big picture political stroke, environmental stroke, corporate world. There's going to be a lot of damaging words spoken at the end of this month, none of which will amount to anything because Mercury's going to be going retrograde. And then it will stay retrograde in the first 2 to 3 weeks of October before standing still again at 10 degrees of Libra around the 18th, 19th of October, and then moving forward. And it won't clear its shadow until early November. Mercury goes into Mercury retrograde shadow around about the 7th, 8th of this month. So another 5 or 6 days time, 7 days time. So really from about the 7th of September through to the 7th of November, we're in Mercury retrograde or Mercury retrograde shadow. Although from about October the 18th onwards, it will begin to ease. But it does suggest there's going to be a lot of confusion and a lot of inauthentic, unsubstantial words which should be taken with a pinch of salt. Don't believe everything you're being told. I'm not trying to instill paranoia or doubt, but trust your own judgment. At the end of the day, you live in an animal body. We pride ourselves on being human, and there's this wonderful thing called intuition, which is a human construct. and it starts at the solar plexus and goes north. But most of us don't like the fact that we're animals as well as humans. We live in an animal body, and we also have instinct, which starts at the navel and goes south. And I suggest that gut instinct is as strong as, if not stronger, than intuition. It's certainly quicker, and it's more instantaneous. It's the nanosecond, and by the time the thoughts and feelings get hold of it, it's gone. Trust your guts. The Mercury retrograde will also be hitting Mars 3 times. In fact, the first time happened about 4 or 5 days ago in Virgo. Mars is moving into Libra this month, around the 16th, 17th, depending on what time zone you're in. And Venus will be moving into Scorpio also around the 10th or the 11th of this month. With Mars moving into Libra, it suggests that there's going to be quite a lot of further changes, more so in October rather than September. There's a lot of jostling for position as the retrogrades come to an end, as Mercury is retrograde. And of course, it's equinox this month. The one moment, which happens twice a year for about 30 seconds, where everywhere on the planet there will be exactly 12 hours daylight and 12 hours darkness, when the poles are exactly aligned north-south according to on the Earth's journey around the Sun on the celestial equator, on the ecliptic. So equinox this year will be on the 22nd of September at 8:22 p.m. UK time, 7:22 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, Universal Time. Worthy of a little glass of something or a cup of coffee, or just some night of significant note. But this month, Mercury retrograde shadow. Look at the area of your chart that the area of 10 to 25 degrees Libra occupies. There's going to be misunderstandings, not so much arguments or disagreements, but misunderstandings and possible outages even. And there's going to be a lot of uncertainty as to the authenticity and the reality of words spoken. And the outcomes will not be clear until Mercury stops going retrograde in the 3rd week of October. And with all the other planets going retrograde as well, this is simply not a good time for making big plans or making big changes. This is a time of dream and vision and idea, and wouldn't it be good if we can do this, and let's work towards that. And it's a time of aspiration and hope and inspiration, but not action, not yet. The more we get into the end of this year, the more I'm going to be saying, look, start putting the foot on the accelerator. But at the moment, it's still on the brake, and it will be until a month from now, 6 weeks from now. So hang in there. September. I would say that September is the last really frustrating month of 2021, because from October onwards, there's going to be a lot more actions. Not always for the best reasons, but there will be actions. And sometimes it's better to do than just to remain in stasis. But at the moment, there's a lot of inertia. And as a result, there's going to be a lot of shouting and a lot of words, especially in the last 10 days of this month. Stay Teflon coated. Keep your sense of humour. Catch you later, world. Bye.